Alright, here we're going to do a little bit of a watch transplant. We'll call it a transplant. So a very, very nice gentleman named Jerome Vernon. He's an electrical engineer like I was or am. And he's got years and years of engineering work for military defense programs. Very, very smart individual. And Jerome lives in the U.S. and he has an amazing watch business. So you look him up, Jerome Vernon, G-E-R-O-M-E-V-E-R-N-O-N. So he was really nice enough to actually provide me an 1883 movement, and it's in this bag here, and it is an old watch movement, and he shipped this to me and for free. I actually asked him, like, what do you want me to pay you for the movement and or the part? And Jerome said, don't worry about it, got lots of crap. And what I'm trying to do is transplant part of this movement, the actual pallet fork from this old watch, which works, and that's the pallet fork there, onto this really nice old movement here. So I'm going to do a transplant. It is an 1883 movement, so that pallet fork should work. So let's get on with it. And a big, big thank you to Jerome Vernon. Jerome Vernon, G-V-E-R-N-O-N. Jerome Vernon. Thank you very much, Jerome. All right, part of this transplant, I'm going to strip this watch down, and I'm going to do the fastest watch strip I've ever done. Let's see if I can do this. I may not even talk or entertain you while I'm doing this. Just going to take this thing apart and call it a day. Let's just get this thing apart. Got to get the right screwdriver here. So I need to get the balance out like that, and I can put that balance. I got balance tacks all over the place, so I can just look around and find a balance tack. Oh, there's one there. So I found one. So I'm just going to put this balance on the tack right here. It's pretty tacky, I'd say. You know what? I think I'll put it on the other tack because it's too low. There we go. Balance is on the tack. Balance is on the tack. Ladies and gentlemen, the balance is on the tack. I've already taken the power off the watch. Didn't show you me doing it, but there it is. Power's off the watch. So now I've got to take off the this plate here because it is covering the main plate, and I've got a couple screws here to remove. And let's just take these screws off really quickly and get that plate off. And I've got a little bit of a thingamajabby doohickey I can use right here to remove that plate. Like that. Get that plate out of there. And now I can remove the main plate. Everything else can just stay in place. Screw number one. I always take one screw off at a time, so I'm one of those guys. I actually put one shoe on at a time too, by the way. So that's in me. So it's yet another video today. Oh my God. It's like crazy, crazy, crazy. You'd think with all these videos I'd be popular. So I'm going to have to tweak this thing again because it's a full plate and they're a pain in the butt to take off and on, put on. So here I got to pull it up and out. So when I lift it up, I got to move it to the side so that the fork doesn't get bent. There it is there. That's the pallet fork. This is the one that is not working. It's a crappy pallet fork. And I got to take this out. And there it is there. It's the wrong one for this watch, so it just doesn't work. I tried doing a different transplant and I failed miserably. So the pallet fork is the one I need out of this watch. So we bring in watch number 2 for the transplant. This is exactly what you'd see in the cardiac clinic. So exactly like this. And I probably want to take the movement out to do this. So let's just take the case, the crystal off here nice and carefully. And then I've got one pretty beat up screw here, which is a screw for the there we go, it just fell out on its own. So that's that, and the screw, I'm not sure how important the screw is. I don't know if there's actual, if the watch has got any wind on it. Let me see if it's got any wind on it here. Just stick it in there like that, and then turn it a bit. And then this thing here is, I think it actually has crust on it from 3,000 years. Look at that. There's still power on the mainspring. That would have been interesting had I taken this off without taking power off the mainspring. This is it's an old mainspring, but it's still got some kick on it. There we go. Power's off the mainspring. E-I-E-I-O. So now I can strip this one down really quickly and grab that pallet fork. See if I can do that super fast. And there we go. That's one. And once again, I don't really need to remove the barrel. This thing is dirty as hell. So we'll just take as much off of it as we can. And I'll put this back together again because I want to use it as a scrap movement in the future if I need any parts like the barrel or something like that. So just get that off. Man, this is dirty. I may have to clean my mat after this. Ugh. Had to give her there. Put some serious pressure on that screw to get it out. 1, 2, 3. It's easy as you do, re, mi. Don't sing. Whatever you do, don't friggin' sing. So I'm just removing these screws one at a time and freeing up the front plate here. And I can work fast. Now I believe this should come straight up and then out. Same as the other one. And there we go. And there's the pallet fork. And I'm going to have a look at this pallet fork and the other one, but I think I'll just transplant the darn thing and call it a day. All right. I'm not sure if the if these pivots are all in, but I'll put the screws in lightly. That way I don't have to tweak the pivots right now. I'll do that after. And I don't want to lose the screws either, because I might want to reuse this someday. These are old watches, man. Old watches. They made millions of these back in the day. Or they had batches of 100,000, that kind of stuff. Because they were providing these to everybody. Even the cowboys needed to know what time it was occasionally. And let me see. I'll just take this plate here and I'm just going to put this in like this. I'm not going to care about whether it's lined up or not. I just want to put the screws back so I can deal with it later. Deal with it later. There we go. That's there. And then the screws underneath here are loose, so no need to have them tight. This is called robbing of parts. Robbing Hood. Now one thing I want to do with that pallet fork is I want to wash it with some lighter fluid, because that other watch is perfectly clean, and the last thing I want to do is throw a pallet fork in there that's dirty. That would not be a good plan. So what I'll do is I can either wash it or just have a good look at it and see if it's good. Alright, we're going to just throw this into some lighter fluid, and the lighter fluid will not impact or affect the actual shellac on that pallet fork. So that should be a good way of just giving it a quick little scrub-a-dub-dub. A pallet fork in a tub. There we go. We don't need a lot of lighter fluid, just need a little bit. Let it soak there. And then I'll get my brush out and we'll brush the crap out of this thing while it's soaking in this lighter fluid. I got to get in closer now as part of the scrub-a-dub-dub, a pallet fork in the tub. My God, my rhymes are shitty. I'm going to get in here with this brush here and just start brushing it. And just flip it over and brush where the jewels are. both sides. And this usually does a great job cleaning up any crud that's in there. That's not bad right there. It's in pretty good shape anyway. And then I just get that out of the way. You know, eventually I'm going to just burn myself up here for no apparent reason. So anyway, that's that. And then I get some watch paper. Where's my watch paper? Where's my watch paper? Oh yeah, there's some watch paper right here. Look at that. Throw that on the watch paper and then get the old blower out. And you just move it around there a bit to confuse it. And I can take the leftovers and just put it aside like I did yesterday. And it's almost 3:30 out. And I'm wearing a very nice watch right now. So I'm gonna, yeah, that's in very good condition now. Yeah, look at that. That looks pretty good. That's pretty darn good. It just needs to be dried off a little tiny bit. And there's a little tiny piece of, I don't know what that is. It's kind of corrosion on it that I can get off with a brush. So first I'm going to dry it off though. Just going to do this here. And the blower dries up the alcohol or the lighter fluid so well. It doesn't take any time at all for it to go away. Alright, drop that down. And now pull out the brush of all brushes. So this is I'm just talking while I'm looking for stuff. Apologize for not being in camera all the time. So there is the brush. This is a Bergeron number 6240. So this is a very, very handy brush. If you don't have one, buy one. So the 6240 is used. It's got a nylon tip on it, and all you use it for is getting rid of corrosion. So if you've got some corrosion, and I can see some right there, I use this brush here. Let me just grab this from a little bit closer to where the corrosion is. I'm using the tweezers on my awkward hand. It's funny, I'm left-handed when I throw, but I'm right-handed for everything else. So. I think that should do. Just a little bit of corrosion on the end, and a little bit of Rodico here, and that should do. There we go. So that's the brush 6240. Get one. They're worth every cent. They'll last a long time. So I've got one and I've used it for years. It's great for also getting corrosion off of battery terminals, which is a great plan. So now I need to get this back in place. So to do that, I need to have this right, looking pretty darn good. So this is part of the transplant procedure. So I just put this transplant part in like this. And again, there's some hoping and praying. I see a little corrosion on the back end of this thing too. I may need to get the brush out again. You can't have corrosion. Corrosion is not your friend. I'm getting the brush out again, and I'm keeping this video active. This is the transplant. So, because I see a little tiny bit of corrosion on the back end of this thing, right there. I'm not sure whether it matters or not, but I'm just going to scrape that just a bit here because I don't like it. The reason I don't like it is that it's green. Just grab this part again. There we go. That's done. I'm just going to tap that like this. And I think rid of the paper. I think while I have the jewels out here, I'm going to put a little bit of that gel on them while they're open, so I can do it now and not have to worry about when the whole watch is apart and I can't get anything. So perfect. It's actually the perfect amount too. And that goes on the end of the jewels, and it goes over the side just a bit, but you want it on the end anyway, and a little bit on the side where the lock is. So that's that, and then I get the movement out, and I need to put this away. I always got to put my stuff away, right? That way I don't have a big mess by the end of the week. Everything has got a place. And now I'm going to take this palette fork once again. There's the mouth right there, and I believe it goes in like this, right? Because you got to get it into the house, the dog house, and then right this. See if that fits. That's the other thing, is it going to fit the jewel hole? The short answer is yes, so it's in there now. And now I want to take a very long, small string of Rodico like that, and I want to put it on the side to hold this palette fork in place. And it's usually a pretty easy job to do, but I need this, and I need I need a small screwdriver to help me here, because I'm going to just put this on the side like that, and I want to smush that down on the plate so it stays on the plate, and then this part kind of lightly rides over the palette fork like that. And when I tweak this later, that way now I can turn the palette fork and the plate around and then get that on top of the watch like this. See if I can do this without screwing it up. This is not easy, folks. This is not easy. This is tricky watch repair work. This is the transplant. The patient is alive. So now I got to lower this down, and I'm just checking all of the studs here, the things, the thingamajobby doohickeys. So I lower it down like that. And my technique is to put these screws back lightly, right? And there's 3 of them here. So I got one here, that's in the back. And that's the one with the rounded top. And the reason is that there's nothing has to go on top of it, so it's nicely decorated. Now, be in mind the pivots are not in the hole yet, so you just put it on lightly. And then the 2 other screws are flat because that bridge for the mainspring needs to go over those, right? So you want them like this. I think I've got like a boatload of videos on YouTube, like 900 videos on YouTube. A lot of people said that they've learned watch repair technique from me over the years, and I thank you for that. I've also learned watch repair technique from Mark, who's in the UK, or he's British, but he lives in, I wanted to say Malaysia or Singapore, one of those places. A brilliant watchmaker. So I learned over years. I took a lot of his courses. I took the diagnostics courses and exam, and took the courses that he had on specifically on chronograph watches on the 7750 and other chronograph watches, so I could do work on those. So it's been quite an adventure. Anyway, I gotta just lift this up and then tweak it a bit, so I'll be back in a sec. That was the world's fastest tweaking. I don't think I had to do much tweaking at all, so I'm just gonna again put these down, but not really tight. I just don't want to risk screwing this up until I absolutely know the pivots are all showing. So that's on top, which is good, and the bottom one is also showing, I believe. Yeah, that's there, and there. So those are all showing, which is nice. And so I think I'm good. And all the plates are level, so you look at the edges to make sure the pillars are flat, and there's no problem there at all. So those are all good. So now I can tighten these screws down. So put a little bit of torque on these, keep them down like that, and like this. So those are all done, and then just toss this plate on top here, and there we go. And I want to, am I missing a screw here? Because there's something gone here, and I'm not sure what's missing. I think it is the screw for the balance cock. So I think that's what that is. So let me look at these screws here to make sure I don't use the wrong one. So I think these are those, and then the balance cock has got the third screw. That's what I'm thinking. And now the balance is in like that, and then I've got to pluck out that little piece of Rodico I put in here, because that will most certainly cause issues on the watch. So I just plucked that out, and there it is there. And then get that out of the way. Now what I want to do is put a little tiny bit of power on the watch, and I want to see if if I get action on the pallet fork. So I want you guys all to pray here, because this is what is needed, is action on the pallet fork. So let's get in there and touch that pallet fork. I'm going to show you what's going on here, just so you can enjoy it at the same time I do, if it works. Oh yeah, there it is, flicking back and forth. So that's good news. So the pallet fork is moving, and now we're going to put in the balance. Alright, we're going to move that pallet fork over to the other side. I can't remember where I put this stick, because I would use it if I knew where it was. No, I'll just use my tweaking device here and move that pallet fork over to the other side. There we go. And now you want to enter the pallet fork from this side, like that, and go down, straight down, like that, and then rotate the movement into place, and hopefully we're going to get some ticking going on. I want everybody to pray. Oh, look at that. I just saw some ticking, folks. I just saw some ticking. There it is there. And I think that the balance here just needs to go down a bit. And let's screw that down just a bit to make sure everything is aligned properly. Of course, it's overbanked on one side. Oh yeah, that's the hell you call watchmaking. Whenever it does that, it's overbanked, and you're like, oh damn it. And if it doesn't come in smooth, then it does that. So I'm pretty familiar with it, but overbanking on these movements is not too bad. I just pick it up like this, and I'm going to enter it this way this time, so it doesn't overbank on the other side. And I just lower it into place and then move it around like this. And you move the movement, not the pallet fork. Now it's overbanked on the other side. Don't ask me why this is happening. Eventually it'll go in and it won't be overbanked. Eventually. It just sort of snaps into place and then you got a problem on the other side. Did I get... Yeah, overbanked again. He's like I'm like the royal bank here. The royal overbanking. Which side is that pallet fork on? It's on the other side. Let me look here again. Yeah, it's on this side here, so I got to enter it from this side. Like that. Go down like this. See if it fits, finds its hole. And then back in again. And see if I can get this thing to not be overbanked. All right, there we go. Now it's working and not overbanked. And that looks like it's picking up power too. So that should do the job. Oh, how did I have a problem there? I'm going to screw this thing down fast before I screw it up. There we go. Transplant successful. Watch is now running. I'll let this run overnight and see how well it does. So a big thank you. Big shout out and thank you for Vernon, to Vernon. So I'm going to look him up again, just make sure I'm a good guy. And so it is Jerome Vernon. So Mr. Vernon. So Jerome Vernon. And he does amazing watch work. And he has a Facebook page that you should go to. And he lives in Madison, Illinois. So I'm just going to show you this picture here for a sec. And there's the gentleman right there. And if you're interested in watch work, there's what he looks like. He's got 392 friends. Well, 393. No, actually, I've got him as a friend. Or do I have him as a friend? I don't think so. I've got him on Facebook Messenger. So there he is there, Madison, Indiana. Great guy. So thank you very much. The watch is now ticking. God bless America. All right, we're going to case this baby now. So I'm going to, first of all, put the face on before I do any casing. Oh, let it run overnight. All right, I convinced myself. I'm going to basically put the face back on, but I got to put the cannon pinion in first. And there it is there. And the hour wheel. So I think I can put the hour wheel in and then the cannon pinion down. So this is a minute wheel. And it just slides in. And once again, this is my watch. I just thought I'd let people know out there in case they were like, JD, what are you doing? This is a very old watch. So I just have to slide the cannon pinion down. And to do this properly, I always use a stake from the staking set. So let me get a good broad stake with a big hole. So there's no chance of this thing not working. I'm still hunting here. This is probably not a big enough hole there, but let me just keep looking for the right stake. The stake that sank 1,000 ships. This stake should do. Look at that. Perfect stake. Now you can't push down on that with the watch down like that because you're going to cause all kinds of problems. It's going to not work well. So, and this thing needs to run overnight for sure. It needs to get a good run on it. Let me just see if I can push the stake down like this. I'm going to just get in close here and just move this cannon pinion slightly to the left. And I just want to move these leaves so they're not in the way. Lift it up maybe and then put it down again. I know I can oil this just a bit so it's actually easier to turn. Someone said a while ago that you shouldn't oil the cannon pinion, but then I had someone else said you should. So I'm going to try the should part and oil the post here so the cannon pinion goes on well. So here we go. I grab the cannon pinion again, put that down, see how well it's lined up. Actually, that's pretty good right there. I'm going to push that down and see if I have any luck here. And let me look at the gears. It's not a perfect mesh here. I got to move it a bit. Move it a bit. And I think I can move it with the... There we go. So just use your there we go. That's in place nicely, and the watch is still a ticking. So that's good. And now I want to put this face back on. This is a tricky watch because of the way it's a full plate, right? So I don't want to interfere. Like, the good thing is your fingers don't get in the way of the balance, so you can pretty much do this without any concern or worry. And the feet should find their home. See, where's the feet home? There they are there. So there's the home for the feet are right there. So all I need to do is back the screws off now, and they'll fall into place. That's one screw there. Let's go around the side here. And there's another screw there. Back that off. If you back them off too much, they just fall out of the hole. And there should be one more here. Like that, and then the face should just fall into place here. There we go. There's one more. It seems to be a little tight right there. No, that's good there. And then I have to tighten these screws. These are dial screws. I have to actually solder on a plate in for another movement. I got to solder on a dial foot, and that's what I'm crunching. What I'm basically doing right now is compressing the screw against the dial foot so the dial doesn't fall out. And these screws should be tight enough, just snug, so they don't fall out themselves. There we go. That's done. Now I can put the ring on, and this is a dust ring here. So I'm just going to do the dust ring. Again, this is my watch, so I'm not too concerned about it. So there's the dust ring, just fits on like that. Just make sure it's lined up there where the key goes in, or where the stem goes in. And I just use my fingers on the edge here to pull this over. Hopefully it's not going to be too difficult. There we go. So the dust ring is almost on, I think. Just another little part, areas that got to go down. You can see where it has to go down. It snaps in. And just work it down with your fingernails. Like so. And now you can see the dust ring is in perfectly, and that's actually perfectly lined up, which is nice. And now the case, this is the case here. And you know what? I forgot the hour wheel. Son of a mother duck. I forgot the hour wheel, ladies and gentlemen. So let's put that hour wheel in. I'll be back in a sec. Alright, I took the watch apart. And look at that, an hour wheel. You moron. I actually find it pretty funny. Now, this watch did not have, or I didn't think it had, no, it didn't have a dial washer. So once again, I got to put a dial washer in. I'm not sure why these people that repaired these watches back in the day didn't bother putting in the proper dial washers and stuff like they should have. So let me just rest this down here for a second and get out a decent dial washer. Hopefully it's not too big or small for this particular movement. So luckily I had my dial washers out and ready. So there's the dial washers there. And I'll just put that down on my mat for a second and just move that over. Oh my God, I had to take it apart again just to put the dial washer in. Let me grab this and turn it upside down, make sure the hour wheel is still in place. It's not, it's shifted up a bit. Put that down. Everything was ready to go. And there's the dial washer, and it's actually not big enough. So my dial washer isn't big enough. So am I going to be able to, do I trust that the dial is low enough without the dial washer? I don't think I have a choice because I don't have another dial washer. So I'm kind of screwed that way. So if this thing slips up a bit, then I'm screwed. So let's put this watch, let's put the movement back in here, align the case here. Yeah, there it is there. Snap that down. So now the dial is in. It may not have enough room in there for the dial washer anyway, so. I don't remember seeing dial washers in these super old watches, and this is a super old watch. I'll give you the date in a second, but it's the 1800s, and it's probably like 1880 or something. So this watch has got personality and age. Like myself, of course. And it dials in again. And then I was done. I was done. But it would have been funny if I would have changed the time and nothing moved. So just make sure this is kind of in the right place as I press it down. And there we go. Fine if you just do it from all sides, you're better off. There we go. Once you get it over the top, then you're good. And there's little dimples on the edge, on the side of this thing. The dimples kind of line up with the metal. And it's kind of neat that they had these, back in the day, they had these dust covers, which is kind of neat. So this is a very old case. What I like about this case is it's got a really cool way that the front and back goes on. I'll show you that in a second. So there's an alignment thing right there, that alignment, jobby doohickey, and that's got to be aligned with, let me see how this works here. I know it goes in and the alignment thing kind of gets in the way. So, because it goes in like this, like that. Let me see if I can do that. It's also got an inner dust cover, like an inner ring, which is kind of unique. I don't think I've ever seen that before. That's part of the case. So this is the dust cover here. So I just turn this a bit and it'll find home like that. It's a bit of a tight fit because you got to have that little inner ring thing working there. So I may have to fart with this a bit to get it in properly. Let me have a look at it. Yeah, so let me just take that out again and look inside. There's really no hints here. There ain't no hints. Yeah. I don't think it goes in like this, does it? Oh, yeah, it does actually. There we go. So that's in. And now I'll put in a couple case screws. Make sure that's up high. And then the case screws go in like this. Try to get my screwdriver into the center of the screw so it doesn't slip. These are interesting half screws, these case screws. Somehow when they thread them in, they got to know that they're not cutting off half the head. So it's amazing manufacturing that they had back then. And this was a long time ago. And I'm going to look this watch up right at the end and show you what we're looking at. It's in nicely. There we go. And then the cover. I got some fingerprints from 1,000 years ago. And you'll see the cover, the way it goes in. It's kind of an inward cover. It's really neat that way. So I'm not really concerned whether this is keeping time yet or not. And I still have to put the hands on. Which I don't think it actually had hands. I'm going to have to find hands for it, I think. But the cover goes in kind of like this. It's an inside cover. And you guys can tell me whether you recognize this kind of cover. There we go. Kind of goes in like that. Like this. And then the top, there's a bezel here like this. And there's no crystal for this. So I have to actually replace the crystal. So there ain't no crystal. And this thing does look like it's at a bit of an angle on the side here with that little knob. And maybe it's supposed to be. I don't know. But I think if I put the crystal in like this and it doesn't screw in, then it's not supposed to be. But I got to find a crystal for this. It's massive. So there you go. That's that. And now I can go to my department of hands. Let me listen to it. Oh yeah. Sounds really nice. But this is the watch here. And it's got an interesting bezel and little animals on the back and stuff. So what I need to do now, I need to find some hands for this watch and some and that should be fine. And I've got tons of watch hands, so we'll just put hands on this watch, and I got to find a crystal for it as well. And it's a pretty wide watch though, so crystal might be tough to find. But that's it. That's the Transplant. So let me get this Waltham working again. It's from the 1800s. It's an old pocket watch. So thanks for watching my channel. That's the Transplant. We'll get this thing with the hands and a face a little bit later. So thanks a lot, and stay tuned for more work.